Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into the shadowy forge of Daedalus, the legendary craftsman whose skill bends metal and myth alike. Imagine the faint hiss of molten bronze, the rhythmic tap of hammer on anvil, and the smoky scent of sweat and fire mixing in the air. You trudge through this cluttered workshop where the flicker of a single lantern casts dancing shapes on the walls. Daedalus, grizzled and sharp-eyed, is on the cusp of creating a masterpiece unlike any other, a hollow bronze bull. It's not just art, it's a cage, a trap, and a key to a story tangled in obsession and curse. You probably won't survive this tale without a little disbelief. After all, who builds a giant metal cow to satisfy a queen's strange cravings? But hey, this is ancient myth, where the line between madness and divinity blurs like smoke in the forge. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I'm always curious where you're tuning in from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Daedalus's workshop is a cavern of shadows and sparks. His hands, scarred by countless creations, cradle the molten bronze with practiced ease. He debates quietly with himself, should this be a simple statue or something that can hide a living secret? The idea is as wild as the sea winds outside Crete's palace, but necessity breeds invention. You can almost smell the hot metal, hear the sizzle as the molten bronze meets cooler air, and the low creak of wooden scaffolding supporting the growing structure. Historians still argue whether Daedalus's legendary workshop was a real place or a metaphor for human ingenuity's darker side, but the image sticks: a man wrestling with the impossible, fashioning a vessel both beautiful and sinister. The bronze bull grows a shimmering giant with hollow spaces perfect for one very unusual passenger. In a fringe telling some suggest Daedalus's bronze bull was not just metal, but enchanted, infused with spells to mask its secret purpose. Others chalk that up to later storytellers, adding spice to an already bizarre tale. Either way, you can't help but feel the weight of destiny settling on this creation, as if the hammer strikes echoing through the room mark the forging of more than just metal. They shape fate itself. You step back, watching the glowing eyes of the bronze bull come to life under Daedalus's skilled hands. The stage is set, and the story's darkest chapter waits just beyond the workshop door. You slip through the grand halls of King Minos's palace, where marble floors gleam cold under the flicker of oil lamps, and the scent of incense mingles with something darker: longing, jealousy, and forbidden desire. Queen Pasiphae moves like a shadow herself, her thoughts tangled in secret yearnings no royal decree can soothe. You can almost feel the heavy silk of her robes dragging silently behind her as she paces, heart heavy, with an obsession that will soon spiral beyond control. Pasiphae's craving isn't just a whim, it's a curse whispered down the generations, tangled in the bloodlines of gods and mortals alike. You might imagine a queen indulging in typical palace intrigues, but no, her desire is wildly unnatural, and the court guards exchange uneasy glances behind their masks. It's said the gods themselves punished her with this forbidden longing, a divine twist of fate no mortal should endure. And here's a little-known quirk. Some versions say that Pasiphae's passion wasn't just a punishment, but a twisted form of divine love, an eccentric curse from Poseidon who demanded retribution for slighted respect. Historians still argue whether Pasiphae was a victim of the gods or a woman defying mortal limits by her own will. You probably wouldn't want to be caught roaming the palace corridors with these thoughts. It's enough to make even the bravest guards whisper of madness. But the queen's desire drives the story forward, setting into motion a plan so strange that it bends the very fabric of reason. As you imagine Pasiphae's restless nights, you might catch a hint of something almost human beneath the myth, the loneliness and forbidden cravings that make her story not just a legend, but a cautionary tale about desire's dangerous edges. So while the palace slumbers and the bronze bull waits quietly in the forge, Pasiphae's secret burns brighter than any torch. You find yourself back in Daedalus's workshop, where the air is thick with the scent of molten metal and the sharp tang of sweat. Daedalus himself, a man equal parts genius and enigma, hammers carefully on the bronze bull's flanks, shaping a vessel that must be both alluring and deceptive. His tools catch the flickering light as he works each strike deliberate, as if he's forging more than just metal, perhaps a destiny sealed in bronze. There's a whisper among the scrolls and fragments that Daedalus faced, an internal struggle. Was he creating art for the gods, or mere instruments of human folly? The man who gave wings to Icarus now fashioned a beastly trap, and some say the weight of his conscience pressed heavily with every hammer blow. You can almost hear him muttering to himself, debating if he's an inventor or a pawn in divine schemes. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some legends suggest Daedalus inscribed secret symbols inside the bronze bull's hollow body, magical runes to protect whoever dared hide within. Scholars still argue whether these marks were real or later fabrications, but the idea adds a layer of mystery to the myth. The bronze bull glistens under the forge's heat, an imposing creature that is both beautiful and bizarre. Daedalus's attention to detail is stunning. The curves, the polished bronze that gleams like living skin. You can almost imagine the bull breathing, waiting patiently for its strange passenger. As he finishes, Daedalus pauses, eyes narrowing with a mix of pride and unease. He's crafted a marvel that will change lives forever, but at what cost? The line between creation and curse feels thinner than the metal walls he hammered. You step closer, sensing the enormity of what lies ahead. This bronze bull is no ordinary statue. It's the hinge upon which a monstrous tale will swing. You watch as Daedalus's workshop hums with a different kind of energy. Wood shavings curl like smoke, and the sharp scent of freshly cut timber mingles with bronze dust. The wooden cow ruse takes shape here, a cunning contraption designed to fool a very real bull. It's an odd sight, this life-sized cow carved with uncanny precision, hollow inside, just like its bronze cousin. Every joint is carefully fitted, every panel polished to deceive even the sharpest eyes. There's something almost comical about this strange wooden puppet built to lure a creature into an impossible embrace. You might imagine a prankster's workshop rather than the lair of a royal inventor. But this is serious business. It's a trap crafted from desperation and dark desire. The idea itself raises eyebrows. After all, who would dream of using a fake cow to satisfy a queen's unnatural longing? Interestingly, a lesser-known version of the myth claims that the wooden cow was not just a static model, but rigged with ropes and pulleys, making it sway and breathe like a living animal. Historians still argue whether such mechanical sophistication existed in ancient Crete, or if this detail was a later romantic addition. As the wooden cow is finished, it stands silent and still, an eerie sentry, waiting for its role in the unfolding drama. You can almost hear the faint creak of hinges and the soft shuffle of feet as the trap is wheeled into place. You might chuckle to yourself at the absurdity. Imagine the bull, a symbol of power and virility, fooled by a wooden cow. But in myths, the impossible is often the key, and this wooden cow will soon become the stage for one of history's strangest unions. You lean in, feeling the weight of the moment. The trap is set, and the story turns toward shadows darker than any forge fire. You slip quietly into the shadowed barn where the air is thick with hay and the earthy scent of animals. The wooden cow, positioned just so, waits silently in the dim light, its hollow form holding a secret. And there within is Pasiphae, cloaked and trembling, ready to risk everything for a desire that defies reason. Outside, the real bull snorts and stamps, muscles rippling beneath its glossy coat, unaware it's about to play a role in a tale spun by gods and mortals alike. The meeting is surreal. One creature drawn to a hollow mimic one woman disguised within cold wood, and the tragic irony of fate weaving through their union. You can almost hear the creak of the wooden frame and the heavy breath of the bull mixing in the quiet barn. It's a moment frozen in time, a blend of fear, lust, and desperation that sets the stage for the myth's most infamous offspring. A quirky detail, some ancient accounts describe how Pasiphae disguised herself further with fragrant oils and the scent of cattle, hoping to lure the bull more convincingly. Scholars still argue whether this was an actual ritual or poetic license to explain the unbelievable. The barn holds its breath as the bull, deceived by the wooden cow, does the unthinkable. You might recoil or marvel at the madness unfolding, but the story demands your witness. It's a secret encounter hushed by time, but thunderous in consequence. As dawn peeks over Crete's hills, the world outside remains unaware of the strange conception that took place in that shadowed pen. The palace will buzz with whispers soon enough, but for now the barn keeps its secrets close as a forbidden child begins to stir within Pasiphae's womb. You feel a strange shift as the days turn to weeks, and the forbidden child begins to take shape inside Pasiphae. The lines between myth and biology blur like watercolor in rain, and the queen's belly swells with a secret that even the palace walls cannot contain forever. This is no ordinary pregnancy. It's a conception woven from divine curse and mortal folly, a paradox that challenges what you thought possible. Imagine the uneasy whispers drifting through the halls, shadows lengthening as courtiers speculate in hushed tones. Pasiphae herself might have battled her own disbelief, caught between shame and a fierce protective love. It's the kind of paradox that has kept scholars debating for centuries. How much of the Minotaur's origin is metaphor, and how much rooted in ancient ritual or medical reality? An intriguing fringe theory suggests the Minotaur may symbolize the blending of human and animal traits common in Minoan culture's religious symbolism, rather than a literal half-man, half-bull. Historians still argue whether the story was meant to explain real genetic disorders or serve as a mythic allegory of power and monstrosity. You probably wouldn't want to carry such a secret, knowing that what grows inside you defies nature's laws and threatens your very position as queen. The forbidden child's heartbeat might echo like a drumbeat of impending doom, while the world around Pasiphae holds its breath. And so, within this womb of shadowed desire, the Minotaur begins to stir, not just a creature of flesh and bone, but a living emblem of curse's passion and ancient vengeance waiting to be born. You drift through the echoing halls of the Minoan court, where whispers curl like smoke from torchlit corners. The courtiers exchange furtive glances, some full of dread, others laced with fascination. News of Pasiphae's strange condition travels faster than the palace pigeons weaving rumors that spin wildly between fear and disbelief. The royal chambers, once silent and serene, now hum with gossip and unease. You can almost feel the weight of eyes watching every move Pasiphae makes, the tension in the air as noblemen and women wrestle with the scandal. Was this a divine punishment, a mortal failing, or something else entirely? The court's reaction is a tangled web of superstition and politics, and historians still argue whether the spread of these rumors was fueled more by genuine fear or calculated power plays. A quirky detail to ponder: some accounts say that Minos's priests performed secret rites to appease the gods and hide the truth, while others claim that the court's soothsayers spun elaborate tales to protect the queen's reputation. The palace became a stage for conflicting narratives, each shaping the myth in its own way. As you listen to the hushed conversations, it's clear that the Minotaur's conception wasn't just a private matter, but a crisis that rippled through Crete's political and spiritual life. The lines between myth and reality blur, leaving you wondering how much of this tale was shaped by human fears and how much by divine whims. You step back, sensing that this scandal is only the beginning. Soon the consequences will burst forth like a storm no one can contain. You sense the rising storm as King Minos's fury ignites like wildfire through the palace halls. His wrath is not aimed merely at his queen, but at the gods themselves, at fate's cruel hand, twisting his family's legacy into something monstrous. You can hear the sharp crack of his voice echoing against marble, commanding silence and obedience, though his eyes burn with a mix of shame and vengeance. Minos wrestles with a deep question. Is this a divine curse laid upon his house, or the betrayal of flesh and blood? His anger spills into every corner of the court, shaking the foundation of power. The king's fury is both political and personal, a man desperate to reclaim control over chaos that threatens to unravel his reign. Here's a curious twist. Some myths suggest Minos blamed Daedalus himself, accusing the inventor of complicity in the queen's disgrace. Scholars still argue whether this was a genuine suspicion or a story added later to explain Daedalus's eventual imprisonment. As Minos plots his response, you feel the weight of ancient laws and God's will pressing down. The king's rage fuels the creation of a dark solution, one that will imprison both secret and shame beneath the earth. The palace's opulence suddenly seems hollow, a glittering mask over a festering wound. You probably wouldn't want to be the one caught in Minos' crossfire. His fury reshapes destinies, and no one escapes unscathed. You follow the winding corridors of the labyrinth, its endless twists and shadows stretching far beyond the imagination. Daedalus's masterpiece isn't just a maze, it's a marvel of architecture and deception designed to confound even the sharpest minds. The walls seem to breathe, closing in with every step a physical embodiment of the secrets and sins buried within Crete's royal bloodline. Historians still argue whether Daedalus's labyrinth was a real architectural wonder or a symbolic prison reflecting the complex human psyche. Some believe it was an elaborate palace basement. Others say it was a spiritual metaphor for inescapable fate. Either way, its legend has outlived stone and mortar haunting stories for millennia. A quirky detail: some ancient sources hint that the labyrinth was built with optical illusions and moving walls designed to trap not only the Minotaur, but also the minds of those who dared to challenge it. Imagine walking corridors that shift beneath your feet, with each wrong turn echoing your doom. You might feel the cold stone pressing in as you trace the maze's cruel design, each corridor a dead end or a snare. The labyrinth is more than a prison. It's a living riddle forged by Daedalus's genius and Minos' fury, holding the monstrous secret tightly within. You probably wouldn't want to get lost here because the labyrinth isn't just walls and passages. It's a symbol of despair, a challenge set by gods and men alike, where hope flickers as faintly as the torchlight. You stand in the dim light of the palace chamber where the monstrous child finally emerges, a terrifying blend of man and bull that defies nature's rules. The Minotaur's first breaths shake the very air, a creature born of forbidden desire and divine punishment. You might expect horror to overwhelm the room, yet there's a strange awe, as if the beast embodies something primal and unstoppable. Even the most hardened attendants recoil, unsure whether to weep, flee, or bow. The child's presence blurs the line between myth and reality, his hooves echoing on marble floors that once knew only the soft steps of royalty. Pasiphae's secret is no longer hidden. It stands monstrous and undeniable before the eyes of all. A fringe theory suggests that the Minotaur's story represents a real medical condition misunderstood by ancient societies, perhaps a person with hypertrichosis or a genetic disorder magnified into legend. Historians still argue whether the creature's monstrous form was literal or metaphorical. You might shudder at the idea of a beast locked in human suffering, trapped by circumstances beyond control. The Minotaur's birth is a paradox, both a curse and a symbol of something deeply human, the outcast born from taboo. As the palace grapples with this living enigma, you realize that the tale is only beginning. The Minotaur is no mere monster. He is a testament to the tangled threads of fate, desire, and divine wrath woven through this story. You slip into the quiet shadows where Pasiphae and Daedalus plot their desperate concealment. The queen's face is pale, her hands trembling with a mixture of fear and fierce maternal instinct. Daedalus, ever the pragmatist, balances ingenuity with guilt, crafting a plan to hide the monstrous child from a world unready for such a secret. You can almost hear the whispered voices, tense and urgent, as they weigh betrayal against protection. There's a sense of exile even in this hidden chamber, an emotional prison mirroring the labyrinth itself. Pasiphae's guilt battles her love, while Daedalus's mind churns with mechanical and moral puzzles. It's not just a question of hiding a child, but preserving a fragile future. A quirky detail: some versions suggest that Pasiphae commissioned a series of secret underground tunnels less famous than the labyrinth, where the child could live unseen. Historians still argue whether these tunnels were real or narrative devices to symbolize isolation and shame. You probably wouldn't want to be part of this secret conspiracy. It's a heavy burden weighed down by fear and the knowledge that discovery means ruin. Yet it's also a story of fierce protection and the lengths parents go to shield their children no matter the cost. As you linger in this quiet place, you realize the tale shifts from monstrous birth to the heartbreaking task of concealment, a reminder that even myths harbor deeply human struggles beneath their grand designs. You find yourself amidst the flickering glow of altar fires where blood rites and whispered prayers weave through the night air. The Minotaur, hidden yet powerful, becomes the center of dark offerings and urgent omens as priests and seers scramble to interpret signs from the gods. The scent of burning incense mingles with the metallic tang of sacrifice, creating a charged atmosphere heavy with fear and hope. Prophetic dreams haunt the palace, visions of bulls, rampaging shadows lurking, and destinies twisting beyond control. The court is restless, torn between reverence and dread, as priests debate which omens carry weight and which are mere tricks of a troubled mind. Historians still argue whether these rituals were real religious practices or later narrative embellishments designed to deepen the myth's mystery. A quirky insight, some accounts claim the Minotaur's presence inspired unique Minoan bull-leaping ceremonies where acrobats would vault over bulls in an attempt to tame the chaos symbolized by the beast. This blend of sport ritual and symbolism remains a subject of fascination and debate. You probably wouldn't want to dismiss these omens lightly. Ancient peoples lived close to the edge of superstition and survival, where every sign could mean life or death. The Minotaur isn't just a creature, he's a catalyst for the fears and hopes of an entire civilization. As the fires flicker lower, you sense the threads of fate tightening around the beast, and those bound to him drawing the tale ever closer to its dark heart. You watch from the rocky shores of Athens as ships prepare to sail toward the shadowed island of Crete, their sails billowing like ghosts caught in the wind. The tribute of youths, noble boys and girls chosen to face an uncertain fate, boards with trembling hearts and heavy thoughts. The sea breeze carries whispers of dread tales of the labyrinth's monster and the weight of a kingdom's guilt. Athens, burdened by this dark pact, watches its children vanish beneath the waves, a somber reminder of power's price. You might sense the city's conflicted heartbeat, pride mixed with sorrow, courage tinged with fear. The tribute is both a symbol of submission and a desperate hope for survival. A quirky detail some scholars suggest: the Athenian tribute story reflects actual historical payments of tribute or captives mythologized into the narrative of the Minotaur. Historians still argue whether the tale masks real political alliances or is purely legendary. You probably wouldn't envy these youths, their futures sealed by forces far beyond their control. Their journey is a blend of bravery and tragedy, stepping into the unknown with only hope as their guide. As the ships disappear into the horizon, the stage is set for a confrontation that will echo through time, a clash between mortal resolve and monstrous fate. You step ashore alongside Theseus, feeling the grit of Crete's soil beneath your feet and the heavy air thick with anticipation. This is no ordinary visitor. Theseus carries the hopes of Athens, a mortal challenger, ready to face a legend. His muscles tense, his mind sharp, every breath measured against the looming threat of the labyrinth and its monstrous occupant. You can almost hear the clash of steel on shield as he prepares, the whispers of his lineage and courage swirling around him like a cloak. There's a quiet confidence tempered by the knowledge that this battle is about more than strength. It's a test of wit, will, and fate. Historians still argue whether Theseus's story is rooted in one heroic figure or an amalgam of many tales told to inspire hope. A quirky insight: some myths claim that Theseus was aided not only by Ariadne's thread, but by divine interventions from gods who favored his cause, blurring the line between human and divine assistance. Scholars debate how much of this is political propaganda wrapped in myth. You probably wouldn't want to be the one caught between Theseus and the Minotaur, as the tension crackles in the air like a storm ready to break. The fate of two worlds balances on the edge of a sword. As you walk beside Theseus, the labyrinth's dark entrance yawns before you, promising danger, mystery, and a destiny entwined with both terror and hope. You venture deeper into the twisting corridors of the labyrinth, the cold stone walls closing in like the tightening grip of fear itself. Shadows stretch and twist, playing tricks on your eyes as torchlight flickers uncertainly. The air is thick with silence and the faintest echoes of distant footsteps, steps that may belong to the monster or to your own racing heart. Historians still argue whether the labyrinth was ever a physical place or a metaphor for the maze of fate and fear within the human soul. Some say it was a palace basement turned prison. Others believe it was purely symbolic, a story to warn against hubris and hidden dangers. A quirky detail to ponder: ancient frescoes depict bulls and human figures intertwined in complex dances, suggesting that the labyrinth's maze-like design may have been inspired by ritual movements rather than walls of stone. This challenges the conventional image of a dark prison and instead paints it as a place of sacred complexity. You probably wouldn't want to lose your way here. The labyrinth seems to twist not just the body, but the mind, trapping hope and terror in equal measure. Every turn could be a dead end, every shadow a looming threat. As you navigate the maze's endless corridors, the story's tension coils tighter, drawing you toward the inevitable encounter that will test courage, cunning, and the fragile thread of fate. You stand frozen in the thick silence of the labyrinth's heart, the Minotaur's low growls vibrating through the air, matching the pounding of your own pulse. Theseus's sword gleams faintly, reflecting the flickering torchlight as he circles the beast. Every movement is a calculated dance between predator and prey, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. The walls seem to close in the air, heavy with the weight of centuries of fear and anticipation. The final confrontation is not just brute strength, it's a battle of wills, a test of human courage against divine monstrosity. You might imagine the Minotaur's roar shaking the stone foundations, a sound both terrifying and tragic, while Theseus's breath remains steady, his resolve unshaken. Historians still argue whether this duel symbolizes the victory of civilization over chaos or something darker, a reminder of the cost of hubris. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some legends say the Minotaur recognized Theseus as a son of Poseidon, hesitating just long enough for the hero to strike. Others see this as poetic license to heighten drama. Scholars debate the true nature of their encounter, lost in layers of myth. You probably wouldn't want to be caught between those two forces, each embodying the primal and the rational, the divine and the mortal. The moment stretches thin, a razor's edge between life and death. As steel meets flesh and destiny unfolds, you feel the story's heartbeat quicken, driving you to the edge of breathless anticipation. You clutch Ariadne's thread tightly as it glimmers faintly in the gloom, a fragile lifeline winding through the labyrinth's twisting maze. Each step forward is measured, each breath cautious, as the thread guides you safely through the darkness, a symbol of hope against overwhelming odds. You can almost feel the thread's delicate texture against your fingers, thin but unbreakable, a beacon in the shadow. Ariadne's gift isn't just physical, it's a clever tool born from love and wit, bridging mortal ingenuity with divine favor. Historians still argue whether this thread was a real navigational aid, a metaphor for guidance, or a later addition to the myth to emphasize human agency. Here's a quirky note. Some versions say Ariadne herself ventured into the labyrinth first, using the thread to help Theseus, though she was later abandoned on Naxos, a dramatic twist that raises questions about loyalty and sacrifice. Scholars debate Ariadne's role as either heroine or tragic figure. You probably wouldn't want to underestimate the power of such a simple thing. This slender thread holds the key to freedom's survival and the fragile victory over a beast born of chaos. As you follow the glowing line back through the maze, you feel the tension ease, hope blossoming with each step away from the dark heart of the labyrinth and toward the open world beyond. You feel the salty spray of the Aegean Sea as the ship carrying Theseus cuts through the waves, leaving the island of Crete and its dark secrets behind. The journey home is bittersweet. Victory is sweet, but the price paid weighs heavily on every heart aboard. The sun dips low, casting golden light across the rippling water, while the crew and passengers wrestle with relief, sorrow, and the uncertain future awaiting them. You might hear soft conversations about lost friends, unspoken fears, and the fragile hope that peace will follow this harrowing ordeal. The sea air carries a promise of freedom, but also whispers of consequences yet to unfold. Historians still argue how much of this voyage was fact metaphor or a blend designed to teach lessons about sacrifice and heroism. A quirky detail, some say the ship's sails were white as a symbol of surrender, while others claim they bore the emblem of Athens' owl, a mark of wisdom and vigilance. Scholars debate these symbols' meanings and origins, adding layers to the myth's tapestry. You probably wouldn't want to forget the faces of those left behind, or the haunting memory of the labyrinth's shadows. The journey home is a reminder that every victory carries echoes of loss and change. As the coastline of Athens draws near, the story settles into a quiet hum, carrying you gently toward the next chapter of human courage and consequence. You watch as Pasiphae's once glorious presence fades into quiet exile, her life shadowed by the monstrous secret she bore. The queen, who once walked the halls with regal grace, now moves like a ghost among the ruins of her former power. Time softens the sharp edges of scandal, but the weight of her fate lingers a haunting echo beneath the stones of Crete. Scholars still debate Pasiphae's true remorse. Was she a tragic victim of divine cruelty or a willful agent of chaos? Some portray her as a sorrowful mother yearning for redemption, others as a symbol of pride punished. The ambiguity keeps her story alive, a complex figure caught between goddess and mortal. Here's a curious tidbit. Certain traditions claim Pasiphae sought refuge on distant shores, becoming a figure of mysterious worship and whispered legends beyond Crete's borders. Historians argue whether these tales reflect genuine cult practices or later myth-making. You probably wouldn't envy her fate, a life marked by exile and memory forever intertwined with a creature born of unnatural desire. Yet in this quiet retreat, there's a subtle dignity, a reminder that even those cast into shadow can find a measure of peace. As the sun sets over the island, you feel the slow fade of myth into memory, the final threads of Pasiphae's tale settling softly into the earth. You find yourself drifting into the whispering echoes of this ancient myth, where the shadows of the bronze bull and the minotaur linger like soft murmurs in the night. The story folds gently around your thoughts, a tangled weave of desire, curse, invention, and sacrifice. It invites you to ponder the monsters within us, all those hidden fears and forbidden cravings that shape who we are beneath the surface. The echoes are quiet, now fading slowly, as if the labyrinth itself breathes a calming sigh. You can almost feel the cool stone beneath your fingers, the distant hum of the forge, and the faint thread of Ariadne's string leading you home. It's a gentle reminder that even in darkness, there is a path forward, a slender hope to grasp. Scholars still debate the myth's meaning, whether it's a tale of human ingenuity overcoming divine chaos, or a cautionary whisper about pride and passion. The beauty lies in its mystery, the questions left unanswered, and the timeless pull of stories that speak to our deepest selves. You probably wouldn't want to rush away from these quiet echoes. Instead, let them settle like soft dust on your mind, calming your thoughts and soothing your heart. As your eyelids grow heavy and the world dims, remember this journey through bronze and shadow, where monsters are not just creatures, but reflections of our own hidden depths. Now slow your breathing. Let the story fade like twilight, soft and gentle. Imagine the last flicker of torchlight dimming in the labyrinth's heart, replaced by the quiet hum of night. Rest here in the calm between myths as your mind drifts peacefully toward dreams.